Hey!
All right. What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Fight Within podcast. Today's guest is the Ultimate Fighter champion. He actually beat one of his best friends, Uriah Hall, on the finale. He is a middleweight championship contender, and it is one of the top middleweights. If he ever wants to go down to welterweight, he can, but he's one of the top middleweights in the world right now. It's Kelvin Gastelum. What's up, man? How you doing? How you been?
Good, brother. Good.
So like we were talking about a little bit off air, what I kind of want to do with the show is give you a chance to just tell the people, talk to the people about some obstacles and first off, if a lot of people don't know, you were born in Arizona. You were raised out there.
Actually, I was raised in Arizona.
Okay.
I grew up there my whole life, but I was born in San Jose.
Okay.
But I grew up my whole life mostly in Arizona, Yuma, Arizona.
Okay. And then what was it that kind of made you fall in love with fighting? Like why? Yeah. A lot of people don't grow up going to school. A lot of people want to be a firefighter or a cop. No, it's like, man, I want to get punched and kicked in the face.
Right. No, I mean, looking back at my childhood now, like I just always wanted to fight. I wanted to be a Power Ranger. I'd fight with I'd fight with my cousins.
Yeah.
I'd make them cry. My aunts hated me, because I was a little devil. I always wanted to play fighting. Not that I was like mischievous or like evil or anything like that. I just wanted to play real rough.
Okay.
So looking back, I always had that in me, but initially, I wanted to play basketball.
Okay.
I played basketball. I played soccer as well. And when the time came for me to try out for the basketball team in middle school, I went out for the tryouts, and they just told me, like, you're too short and too fat to even play, bro. So, like, go do something else, you know? And then my buddy told me about these wrestling tryouts, and I was like, I didn't even know wrestling existed at that time. I was like 11 years old.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and tried out for wrestling, and ever since then, I mean, I think I feel like something that's what made me fall in love with the sport. That day, I guess, when I went to those tryouts and got my ass whooped.
Yeah, and even through that journey, a lot of people think they know wrestling, and now I just took over a program over at our local high school, and people don't realize how hard these kids work and the discipline it takes and how long the tournaments are. And we just got back from state, and it was a 3-day tournament, and it was literally from 6:30 in the morning to 7 at night. And so what was it hard for you during that time and at that age to stay disciplined? Because a lot of people want to play, video games, want to hang out with their friends.
Yeah.
What was it? What would you attribute that dedication or that discipline to? Was it the support you got from your family or your coaches or someone you looked up to?
I guess it would be, first of all, the support that I had from my family. If I would have gone into somewhere or, been around doing something else that I shouldn't have been doing, like I was scared of my mom at that age. I don't know if any other little Mexican kid was scared of his mom.
Yeah.
So that was one. And then another was the love for the sport, the love for wrestling. I fell in love with the sport right then and there. And so that was another aspect that kept me, going back to wrestling practice instead of hanging out with the guys that I was hanging out with, which at the time weren't the nicest dudes. I didn't go to the nicest schools. I wasn't living in the best part of town, you know, and my family comes from very humble beginnings, so I was definitely hanging out with the wrong crowd at the time. And I think if it wasn't for wrestling, if it wasn't for sports in general, like I probably would have gone the other way,
But even there's a lot of people, and I've had this debate with a couple different people because I didn't grow up in the best area either. Like, we're in Orange County now, but this is great.
We're in the life now.
Yeah, right? We're good. But I was I don't want to say I was easily influenced, but why do you think there's an attraction as kids to those types of people? Because you know what's right from wrong.
Right.
But you want to go and I want to go hang out with my
buddies,
my friends, big brothers,
the
and
people
all
that
the
accept me, and the people that make me feel like I have a place that I belong. Is really what it was. I think. I mean, I didn't grow up with a dad, so maybe subconsciously I was looking for somewhere to belong, you know. And those friends were, I guess, part of it, you know. Until I found wrestling, and then wrestling became to me like a brotherhood, which I felt like I belong, it was good for me, you know.
Did wrestling take you away from those people slowly, or was that a decision that you made on your own to say, hey man, no, look, if I want to be successful at wrestling, I need to maybe stay away from them and I need to focus on getting better?
Yeah, I mean, it was a decision that I made pretty much instantly, or one day, you know, from one day to the other. I was hanging out with these dudes. They're these gang members, you know, and you have to get initiated, like in the gang or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were gonna do that. They surrounded me one time at the school, and they're like, "So you wanna do this or what?" And I was like, "Peace, peace out, guys," you know. And I never hung out with those guys again, and just focused on wrestling. I mean, it was an easy decision.
So even after that, did you have, like, you graduate high school, how did your high school wrestling career go?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I took a real good stride until I hit 11th or 10th grade. You know, 10th grade is when I really started to notice my skills develop to a whole nother level. You know, to where I knew I can probably perform at a high level, you know, at that age. You know, I didn't know, like you said, I didn't know too many 11, 12, 13-year-olds that were doing the stuff we were. I mean, we were doing 300 push-ups a day, 500 sit-ups a day, and this is 6-7 days a week. These are little teens, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't remember too many people doing that at that age. You know, like you said, state just happened, and my coach, one of my wrestling coaches, still coaches state, middle school state.
Oh, wow.
And he just says how much he's softened up throughout the years, and he's just tells me how it was back in the day to how it is now. Like now he's, you know,
it changes.
It just changes just because he feels like people are
getting soft.
People are getting soft. Exactly.
What did you want to do after high school? Did you have a career path, or did you know you wanted to be an athlete?
I knew that I wanted to wrestle in college, and that's what I
Okay.
did. I went and wrestled in North Idaho College, and I knew that I either wanted to get into some sort of sports science or criminal justice. Well, really, the criminal justice was more like my mom's idea, that she always wanted me to like become a cop or something. And I wanted to make her happy, so I took some criminal justice classes. But I was interested in more just like physical education and sports science and stuff like that.
And then when were you first introduced to MMA?
I must have been like my sophomore year in high school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I must have been like 14 or 15. And one of the assistant coaches that was coaching the wrestling team that I was in high school was fighting, and he invited me to the gym that he was training at. And man, I remember the first day they told me to get on my back and just don't let the guy down, or don't let the guy get up.
Okay.
I was like, all right, I mean, I'm a wrestler, I can keep a guy down.
Yeah.
And I fall back. He's in my full guard, and the guy just stands up and he just boom right to my face, you know, and mounts me and hits me right in the face, and I'm like, what just happened? You know, that was my first experience training MMA.
That's nuts.
But I liked it, you know. I liked the challenge of it at the time.
But did you know that was a career path you were going to take, or somewhere that you wanted to be?
I think I didn't realize it at the time, at the beginning, but must have not been much longer after that I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
And then without talking too much about your MMA career, I mean, you've dealt with everyone deals with failures, losses, setbacks.
Oh yeah. And
How do you
definitely
specifically deal with them? And maybe not recently, but in the beginning versus now.
Sure.
How would you say you dealing with those failures have changed?
I guess just really analyzing the situation or the problem, whatever it may be, and just analyzing and attacking it straightforward. You know, grabbing the bull by the horns, I guess, as they say. It's just how I handle it. Okay. You know, I don't try to go around things or problems. I just handle them straight on is one thing.
And like, what specifically happened? For instance, like I remember one time, my very first fight in Bellator, I fought Ryan Martinez in Indiana. Mm-hmm. Lost by decision. And I was so sad.
Sure.
Like I started crying. I called my dad. I said, I should have beat his ass.
Yeah.
I could have won.
Right.
Called my wife. And then the very first thing when I got off the phone, I went to go drink.
Okay.
And I didn't deal with it properly. Or
Sure.
maybe the best way I should have.
Right.
And it's no one's fault. It's something that I decided to
Right.
do. Like I was like, I'm going to go get
We're all
drunk.
human, man. We're all make mistakes, right?
Sure. But how did you deal with them? Because I've seen guys lose, come back, and they don't give a damn. They just leave. Whatever.
Right.
I've seen other guys literally sit in the locker room the rest of the event. They don't want to talk to anyone. They don't want to do anything.
Right.
How did you deal with your very first loss?
I guess I just always knew that in the back of my mind. I mean, in the back of my mind, I would think any other fighter, in the back of their mind, they know there's a 50% chance that you can lose, right?
Yeah, sure.
You know, obviously you go in there thinking like, nah, I'm going to beat this guy's ass. But in the back of your head, you're like, man, maybe I can get knocked out. There's always that, right? But try not to think about it. But how I dealt with my first loss, I guess you just deal with it. You know, at the time I had fought Tyron Woodley. I didn't make the weight for the first time in my career. And I was just a mental block. I mean, I went out there. He fought to a split decision, but you can tell that I was just not on that night. But how I dealt with it was just moving on, learning from it. Definitely learn from it, and move on from there, man. Mature from it.
And then how do you now? If people follow your career, they'll see that it was a very hard fought, very slow
I mean,
rise.
I've had several setbacks that are very public. Like I missed the weight, 3 times in my career.
Sure.
Those were all setbacks, and when I've lost fights as well. But when you look back at my career, I bounced back every single time.
But how do you deal with the fact that people maybe don't even remember that? They just now at this point in your career, they're just like, man, Kelvin's a badass. He just fought Stylebender in one of the best fights of the decade. But they don't realize like everything you did before that. You worked so hard. You won fights. You some of the guys that you've beaten at the time were one of the best fighters at that point. People are like, no, Kelvin's up here now, but they don't see the rise.
Right.
They don't see all the hard work, all the times of you leaving. I lived it, your schedule's yours, your diet's yours. Like I have a wife and kids, and they're almost put in the back burner because it was all about me.
Yeah, it's a very selfish sport, really.
Sure.
You have to be, in order to be successful, you kind of have to be a little selfish.
Yeah.
You have to be on a strict regimen. You have to have a good sleeping schedule. And nobody can interrupt it, or else you don't get the best results in your training.
And then how, I don't want to say how hard it is, but for some people it might be. I know for me, for sure, it was like when I signed a Bellator, I was like, oh man, I made it. Like I don't need to work as hard. Sure. You just had one of the best fights. A lot of people are speculating it's one of the best fights of the decade.
Thank you, my man.
And there's a lot you could attribute that to, that because you can't teach heart. You don't coach heart. You can't teach it.
Yeah.
You showed it. How do you deal with kind of getting back on the saddle? Or being because I'm sure people are sitting there kissing your ass. Oh, you're so good.
Yeah. I know. I mean, you guys, you really have to have a reality check with yourself.
Yeah.
And really dig deep down within yourself and answer those kind of questions. Like I know that it's gonna take for me, a couple more fights for me to get back on the title.
Sure.
But right now I'm just dealing with it all. I'm processing. I'm going through that process right now, a rebuilding phase, I guess, as you can say. I'm dealing with a torn LCL on my knee, which I'm doing physical therapy on it every day. But that's just really what I'm concentrating on right now. Is what my main focus is on, rehabbing the knee so that I'm 100% before I get back in that octagon.
Sure. And then what obviously in the beginning, you're super motivated to prove yourself, but is there a difference for you in what motivated you in the beginning versus what motivates you now?
That's a good question. I mean, my family, it really stays the same. My family at the beginning, making sure they're okay.
Yeah.
And they are okay, thankfully. I've been blessed. I've been done well for myself over these last few years, and they're doing well. Now it's just to maintain it and make sure I build myself for my future.
And then in that same regard, what do you do specifically? Like unless it's a secret of yours, where do you go in detail to stay motivated every day? Like some people watch a YouTube video and get motivated, or they have to get a lift in, or whatever. Like when I wake up every morning, I have the Bible app, I read the verse of the day, and I'm like, all right, bam, like let's go. Even though sometimes that doesn't work, and I gotta like get in there again and be like, all right, I gotta get remotivated. Like what keeps you motivated every day? Because you've gotten to a point, I mean, let's be honest, where 90% of fighters would be very, very satisfied or happy to be at. And so what do you do to keep that same motivation, that same drive daily?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, most people would be okay with what they've done at this point. And like to me, I'm not to the bit satisfied with what I've done in the sport so far. I'm not satisfied with where I am so far. You know, for me, I wanted to become champion, and that hasn't happened for me yet. So until I achieve that, maybe I'll say that I've accomplished what I wanted to in the sport. But so far, I'm not even a tad bit satisfied. You know, and I think that's what separated me from other people, is just like my hunger, my willingness to continue, you know, rising up so that I can fight for the title again and get that title.
Does it upset you when people, because I dealt with it a lot too, and that's the only reason I'm asking it, does it upset you when people say you're too small for the division, you're too short, you can't do this, and then you have a fight like you just had and you just shut all those people off, and then there's still people saying that?
Yeah, I mean, they're right. I might be the smallest guy in the division.
Sure.
But I mean, I can only go out there and do my best, which I did, and everybody's seen how well I did compared to, you know, the top guys in my division, and that can only, you know, I use that as an example just because I did really well. But I mean, I'm really happy with what I did in that fight. But I think the next time we face each other will be a little different, you know.
Oh yeah. And then what do you, even people always say MMA, just like wrestling, is an individual sport. I always tell my wrestlers, it's not, because you need training partners, you need coaches. You know, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, was one of the best players in the world, along with Michael Jordan. If you look at like Derek Jeter, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, all these guys, they all had coaches. Yeah. They all have people. They all have teammates.
Anybody that says they're self-made is a liar, is what I say, you know, because I think anybody that makes it to the top, I mean, they need a strong team behind them, you know, whether it be in the music business, restaurant business, or sports business. Everybody's got a team around them, and especially fighters. We have coaches, we have therapists, we have all these people around us that are helping us achieve our goals. So yeah, I agree with that.
And then what to backtrack a little bit, what brought you to California?
Oh man, that's kind of a funny story, because originally I was gonna go and train and live in Montreal, Canada.
Oh wow.
with you know, up in with Faraz Zahavi.
Yeah.
And because I had done a Georges St Pierre's last training camp before he retired at that time. Okay. In 2013. I helped him get ready for Johnny Hendricks.
I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. I helped him get ready for Johnny Hendricks just because I was a short, stocky southpaw wrestler, you know? Yeah. And I went out there, spent a month and a half out there, and I was like, man, I really enjoyed the training there. I really enjoyed being around George and Faraz, who at the time, for me, I mean, still, he's the greatest example of any MMA fighter that ever lived. He's the greatest of all time, in my opinion, is GSP. So I was on cloud nine being over there, you know, and so that's where I was like, this is it. This is where I'm staying. This is where I'm going to train from here on out.
Sure.
And shortly after Uriah and I fought, he invited me out to Irvine and train with you guys out at Rain. Yeah. And I loved it, man. I loved it so much. I ended up moving in with Uriah. That's when I ended up moving in with Uriah and had that camp here with Mark. Yeah. And met all you guys out in Rain Training Center. You know, that was in 2013, man.
That's insane.
Yeah. I came out here. I was supposed to be out here for a week. Ended up getting an apartment, you know, at least. And it was cool.
That's crazy. Because I remember when you came over, that's when like Chael Sonnen came.
Oh man,
Bisping,
everybody was there. It was awesome.
I sound like an old man, but some of those, like just the sparring we had in there was, I'd literally sometimes take a break and be like, oh, I'm gonna watch these guys go.
Yeah.
And it'd be like Chael Sonnen against
That's
Mark
where I met.
Munoz
That's where I met Tony Ferguson. Me and him had some epic sparring sessions back in the day.
was nuts, man.
Yeah, it was insane.
Uriah, and not to name drop like Schaub and Pat Cummins who just retired.
Yeah.
You have all these guys.
Jessica Penny at the time.
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey would drop.
Yeah.
In.
Well, because her and Schaub were.
Oh, okay.
A
That's
couple or
why they were
something.
dropping in.
Yeah. But that's insane.
That little era right there of Rain Training Center was insane.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd put us against
And
any
Uriah,
other team.
yeah,
I
seriously.
mean, it was nuts at the time, and you were just coming up, but you know, you were someone I kind of admired from the outskirts, and I was talking to Jaywalk about it, and it's hard, and you can probably relate to it, but why do you think? Because growing up, there's never like a big heavyweight Mexican boxer.
Right.
So you're like, oh man, I want
Not
to be
until
like
Andy
him.
Ruiz. Right?
Yeah, well, Andy Ruiz.
But he was the first O'Kane, you know. But
Kane and MMA.
But those were all very recent, you know. It's not like.
I mean, like I love Chavez. I love De La Hoya.
Yeah,
coming
exactly.
out. And I was like, I love De La Hoya because he was a pretty boy that brought all the girls to the event. And I was like, oh, he's got a bunch of girls.
Oh,
there. And so, how do you feel now, kind of taking that torch and representing your Mexican heritage and your Mexican culture? Because it's there's not a lot of there's a lot of Latinos, but there's not a lot of Mexicans per se.
Yeah.
And it's like you, Ferguson. You know, they did the Ultimate Fighter.
My heritage, you know, is something I'm very proud of. It's something that I boast in my fights. You know, I come out with the mariachi, and they play it really loud when I come out too. So it's something that I really am proud of. My heritage, where I come from, where my family comes from. I love to represent them. You know, but obviously, I love where I live. I love where I was born, the USA, baby. You know, so. I'm very proud of my heritages, you know, Mexican American.
Is it hard for you because you are in such a, I mean, in the UFC it's like dog eat dog, but it's the question I was trying to get to before was just how is it for you to feel happy for people? Like I'll post a picture, like if you have a fight, when I watch it on my phone, I'll take a screenshot, be like, all right, let's go, Kelvin.
Oh, yeah.
Or when Uriah has a fight.
That's
even
my
though
favorite. That's my favorite. I get more nervous when my friends fight, when one of you guys fight. I get more nervous than when I fight. So, and when I see them fighting and winning and they do well, like for instance, Benny Dariush, you know, he's a really good teammate of mine, really good friend of mine. And I know what he went through to get to that fight and, you know, behind the scenes. You know, people don't realize what fighters go through.
No,
you know,
they don't.
Injuries, personal problems, personal issues, all that stuff. People don't see, you know, they just see us in the octagon, you know. They see the end product of it all. And so anyways, I know what Benny had to get through to even step inside of that octagon, for him to go out there and win by knockout. He just knocked out another acquaintance of mine, Jakar Close.
Oh, wow.
And it was spectacular, man. And I'm telling you this because I'm so happy for him. And it was so happy.
Is it weird seeing that? Like, I remember Rain had just shut down, and then you fought Jake Ellenberger in Mexico.
Oh, I know.
And, like, I didn't know. I was at Munoz's house. I watched it at Mark's house. And I legitimately didn't know who to cheer for. I was like, I'm just not going to watch it, man.
I know.
I'm done.
That was a lot of people, too, because... you know, when I was at Rain, I never interacted with or bumped into Jake.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know that all you guys knew him like that. So
yeah.
It was cool. Bro. It was cool.
Oh,
it was cool, dude.
Nuts, bro. It's weird.
Yeah.
For me, it's weird. I still get excited because it's like I was saying. I was talking to Jaywalk, who was my old strength and conditioning coach. You're still working with him, correct?
I worked with him always.
And I was like, why do you think it's like I was never happy for people, but now I'm like, oh man, I love watching you succeed and watching Uriah succeed and watching old teammates succeed like Schaub.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I feel, he goes, it's maybe because you feel like you played a little part in it.
Yeah.
But I like watching you guys succeed outside of the octagon.
Yeah.
Because it's like you see someone like Shab, and a lot of you guys, like I hadn't seen you in like 3 years.
Yeah, man.
And I ran into you at Frankie's, and you're like, "What's up, man?" And I'm like, "Man, like you guys don't. It's not that you guys don't change. I'm sure you guys mature and get better.
Sure.
But you never like big time me. I text Shab a while ago before I started the podcast, and he goes, "Man, just be consistent." I was like, "You got 3 successful podcasts, man. Is there any advice you can give me?"
I know this guy is awesome.
And it's like, in that regard, have you thought about, or have you kind of set up things that you want to do after your fight career?
Yeah, right now I'm just starting to get into stuff like that, into some sort of real estate stuff. I mean, I don't know much about it, but it's something that I really want to get into, is investing in real estate and developing real estate. So I mean, eventually I want to get into it.
And then what
more
do you
as an
do
investor,
for
not like
an agent. And then, but what do you do? Do you, obviously, I'm sure you educate yourself and you watch videos or read articles.
Sure.
Is there someone in particular that you look up to or kind of want to aspire to be like?
Well, yeah, my old boss, actually, before I got in the UFC, I worked as a bail bondsman.
Okay.
Which he does pretty well for himself. He got the bail bondsman, but he's also very much into what I'm telling you is investing into the houses, flipping the houses.
Yeah.
And it's something that he's having a lot of success in, and it's something that it brought a lot of attention to me, and something that I'm interested in as well.
That is nuts.
But
so,
I mean, it's just something that I just started thinking about and started getting into, just because it's time to start building myself up for the future.
Yeah. Well, you have to. If you look at other professional organizations, you look at the NBA, the NFL, MLB, one, they have what we would call a union, but
Sure.
they have their Players Association or
their CBAs or all that stuff. Right?
Yeah. Why don't you think that's happened in MMA yet?
Well, all those guys are employees of those organizations, right? And unfortunately, we're under law. We're what is independent contractors?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just don't know if it'll work eventually to have an association or not. I don't know if it's going to happen because of that. Because us as fighters, we're independent contracts. We can't be filed under employees of the UFC, which in that case, we'd be getting all these benefits, that the employees do get, I'm sure.
So
But until that happens, I mean, we kind of have to look after ourselves. I got a goal to maybe retire until I'm 35. So hopefully from here on out, I'm gonna be building myself, something nice, so that when I retire, when I'm done fighting, I have something to go to.
Do you set goals like that? Is that something that you, like for instance, your support system? Obviously, your coaches and your teammates,
Sure.
but is there, like a business mentor or someone that you look towards?
I mean, I've always had great people around me, whether it be coaches or just mentors or people that are there to help me out. But I mean, mentors necessarily? No. I have great people that help me keep on a good path.
Yeah. And do you have your goals? Like, do you write goals down for yourself?
Yeah, I do. Every year.
Okay.
Every 6 months, maybe I rewrite them and I make those 6 month goals. This is what I want to do over the next 6 months. I do that for the whole year. Yeah, man. And it's, most of the time I hit them all, man.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool, man.
So in a perfect world, the next 2 years, where do you see yourself in your fight career?
Yeah.
And in your personal life.
In the next 2 years.
Within the next 24 months.
If all goes well, then man, I'll be
it out to the universe.
Yeah,
bro.
no, I'll be fine for the middleweight title, or I'd already be middleweight champion by then.
Yeah.
In the next 2 years, I definitely think that's more than doable.
Yeah.
And
what about in your personal life?
In my personal life, just to be able to get involved more into this side business that I want to get into. Or I guess that would be more of my business venture, rather than my personal. In my personal life right now, I mean, I'm single, ready to mingle. You know, I don't have much going on in my personal life other than my family. You know, I love spending time with my family. When I go to Arizona and I spend time with my mom, my sister, which is a huge aspect of my life. You know, is my family, and this is why I do all that I do, is to be able to support and give a better life for my family. You know, my mom is the main reason. You know, she worked 2-3 jobs her entire life so that she can put some food on the table. You know, and once I was able to take care of her, I told her, Mom, listen, you don't have to work no more. I'll take care of you. You know what I mean? And it's been going on. It's been working out so far.
Does that make it easy for you to get to the gym and be like, man, I don't want to go today? And then you think about Mama Gastelum, and
right?
You're like, I'm going.
Absolutely, man. That is definitely the motivation. Sometimes, you know, sometimes you go up thinking like, man, if I don't get up, then I'm decreasing my chances of winning this fight, which decreases my payment, which decreases my money. Yeah. Which I don't get to provide for my family. You know, if I'm not going to train, I'm not giving myself the best possibilities to win these fights.
Awesome, man. Well, we're getting towards the end of the interview. What would you tell up and coming fighters or up and coming athletes in general? Like what to expect or kind of what to do with their careers?
Sure. I mean, I got a lot of people that ask me like, how is it you can get to the UFC? Yeah. What's one way that I can get to the UFC? It's like, I didn't take no shortcuts. That's for damn sure. I wasn't going around asking people how to get in the UFC. That's for sure. You know, I was out there winning fights. I was out there putting myself out there to these organizations, to all these organizations. I remember I used to send out my application to Florida, to Texas, to freaking Alaska, you know, to try and fight in these organizations, just because it was hard for me to get fights at the beginning. It's hard in the beginning, you know. Yeah. Obviously, to get anywhere, you have to make sacrifices, man, and I did, and thankfully, I reaped the benefits of my hard work, you know. Yeah. And I mean, there's so much to do. You know, I'm only 28 years old. Yeah. I feel like I'm just starting out, even though I've been fighting forever. Prime, man. I haven't even hit my prime, I think. You know, to be honest. Nice. So I haven't. I don't think I've even showed 50% of what I can do in the octagon yet. Man, I feel like I'm just starting out, but this time I'm more experienced. I'm more mature. Yeah. I'm a little bit smarter. I'm not that smart of a guy, but I'm a little bit smarter. And I'm very confident about the future, man. I'm excited about the future, just because of what I just said. You know, I've been through so much, done so much already, been up and down in my career, and you know, you put all those experiences together, the good, the bad, and then now you make a new formula. You know, and with all that experience, with all that, you know, I feel more mature now that I'm getting closer to 30. I'm thinking about setting myself up for the future. You know what I mean? And you start having these thoughts, you know, and thinking about the future. So I'm excited.
Then what keeps you hungry? Like why do you think that most, especially in MMA, not that all athletes aren't, but especially in MMA, I think because there's so many different disciplines, you're motivated to just learn, and that translates directly into the workforce, into your business ventures, into your personal life. Why do you think we're molded that way? Because there's a lot of guys like me per se, not to like talk crap about myself, but like that I'm a forgotten story. There's so many guys that came through the gym that were badasses in the gym, and they could just never pull the trigger, you know, on fight night. And why do you think you're so not motivated but hungry to just learn?
I don't know, man. All I do is show up, and that's really the number one thing is you gotta show up, and be consistent. All I did was show up to practice, and then next thing you know, I'm pretty good at this fighting thing.
All right, well, Kelvin, appreciate you, man. Thank you for the time. Where can people find you?
Instagram is @KGastelum. Twitter is Kelvin Gastelum. You guys can find me there. I'm on there all the time. I can respond, direct message me. I'm single, ready to mingle. So let's do it. No, thanks for having me on, brother.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you, man.